guys, welcome back to this video. For this video and this topic, we'll be looking into JavaScript. So we have now left HTML, CSS, CSS framework, which is materialized CSS that we looked into the last time, and we are now in JavaScript part. This is the most crucial part of our website, of our web developer journey, as I will put it. So the JavaScript programming language is a programming language that was initially introduced just to help out in when it comes to submitting a form to the server and everything that has to do with HTML forms. But as time goes on, the language continues to evolve, making it to play a bigger role in designing our web pages. So JavaScript can help us to control the behavior of our web page, and many things. You can do so many things with JavaScript. You can see, just like I've listed out here, you can change the content of an HTML element. You can change the attributes. You can also change the styling, and also you can use JavaScript to hide or show the content of your web page. So you can also use JavaScript to control your form. Let's say you want to submit a form to the server. JavaScript also helps to interact with the server and the server. So let's say our server is a Node or PHP. So JavaScript also helps us to interact. JavaScript also helps us for validation on our form. Let's say you want to make sure your user inputs a correct type of text. You can use JavaScript to do that. You can also use JavaScript to check if your form is empty. So many things you can use JavaScript to. So let's hop in and see the many things that we are going to be doing with JavaScript. And before the end of the tutorial for this video, I'll also show you how to make an external JavaScript, and also how to make it accessible within your HTML file, and the right place for you to embed your JavaScript file within your HTML file as well, and the rest. So guys, let's hop in and see the things that JavaScript can do for us. So firstly, JavaScript can change the contents of an HTML element. The JavaScript has a method called getElementById. During our HTML classes, I believe we must have come across an ID attribute. Let's say we have a P element, and the P element has an ID attribute, and our ID should be welcome note. Welcome to this JavaScript tutorial. JS for short, helps to control the behavior of our web pages. Okay. So JavaScript, let me end this statement. Pages. JavaScript was initially introduced to help solve problems with HTML form, but has gradually involved. So I will stop in here. So this is our, oops, I made a mistake. Welcome node. So let's say we want to change the content of this p tag here. You can use a script tag. The script tag is used to initiate our JavaScript file. It's also used to embed an external JavaScript, which I will show you much later. So you can open up a script file here. So another way, you can also put your script on the head, and you can also put your JavaScript file before the closing of the body tag. But importantly, it is more important to keep your script before the end of your body tag, because it speeds up the time your page loads. So it speeds up the time your page loads. Let me open up our script. And the method that I told you about, getElement by ID, getElement by ID. Then you can put in your ID, welcome node. So this getElement by ID method is used to target a particular ID from your web page. So let's say like we have a welcome node here, so we can use the getElement by ID to target this particular p tag here with the ID welcome node. So even if I have another p tag here with another ID, this ID of introductory, welcome node and introductory are the same thing, but I have a lorem 25 in the format this. Okay, so I have a lorem 25. What my getElement by ID will target is only this, because it's checking the spelling welcome node. So this welcome node ID here matches the welcome node ID on our p tag. So let's jump into action and see how we could be able to change the contents of our elements. So let's start off with a var. So a var is a container used to hold our variables. Of course, we will come into that later. So let's say var x equal to getElement by ID, and I'll put in my welcome node. Let me add a header here. JavaScript h1 Java JS. What is JS? Okay, so I could just leave it this way. So let's view our page first. Okay, so you can see, oops, this is supposed to be script, not a script. Okay, this is not actually it. Okay, so let's see again. Okay, so you can see my my p tag and my body tag here, body for the ID p with body. So let me change the content now. So x dot, there's another method called inner HTML. Inner HTML is it's actually the content within the okay, so Inner HTML is used to change the content. Is used to change the content of your piece of the HTML tag. So inner HTML should be equal to. Let me give it another text here. Our welcome note should be changed and voila. So let's check it out now. So whenever I load up the my page now, after loading this, my script will also load. So let's take a look. So this is supposed to be inner HTML. Okay. Sorry. Seems like I checked my list. It's not changing. I actually mixed something. It's supposed to be document. Just get element by ID. I actually made a mistake, so it's supposed to be document. Just get element by ID. So this is my document. My HTML is my document, and I'm trying to get element by ID called welcome note. So let's refresh that and see. So you can see our welcome note should be changed and voila. So let's proceed with the other part. So for this part, we change the content. You can be able to change the content, which is this. Change the content of our element. And then the next part that we'll be looking into is changing the attributes. So you can use the JavaScript to change the attributes of our web page. So let me show you that. We'll be using an image you can be able to use the JavaScript to swap images or build our own gallery as well. So let me implement this img. Our source will be from our img file / carousel1 and first img, and let me have a button here. And our button should have an on-click event. So an on-click event is a JavaScript event which makes it possible that whenever you click an element, it performs a particular action based on the on-click event that just happened. So on click, you put in the name of your function or wherever you want it to run on. Let's say on click get previous img and initiate our function. This get previous img will be a function. So functions are blocks of code that is used to separate concern. Of course, we will see that later. And let me copy this very fast. Previous and previous and next. This will be get next image. So let me implement this, changing an attribute. So and I will do it this way. Function. This is the JavaScript keyword, the reserved keyword, and my function will get previous img. Don't mind about the function. We are still going to look into it later deeply. And I will say let x was equal to document get element by id and I'll be getting this in my ID image gallery. Image gallery. You can also change the document to get element by ID instead of splitting it off. I could eventually remove these and remove the left X and let's say dot. So we can use dot to change our method. So dot sort will be equal to dot slash img slash caro2, and the caro2 is also within our dot slash img. Let me check that. Caro2, which is here, and let's close this. And for the, let's copy again for the next. For the next should be caro2, and for this should be caro1.jpg, caro2.jpg. I suppose it's jpg. Okay, and this will be get next image. So let's take a look and view it here. Oops. The image is too large. Let me add the width. Width should be 500, and the height should also be 500. Okay, let me give it 350 by 350 by 350. Okay, so you can see the first image, the image that I put here should be caro1. So you can see caro1 here, and this should be caro2. So now we could be able, because of the function that I wrote now, we could be able to swap the images. So there's no previous image, so I could be able to get to the next image. So you can see for a more complex image gallery, you can use a JavaScript array keyword, array containers to display multiple images within this. But we won't be looking into that. We won't be looking into that in this tutorial, in this particular video. So you can see I could be able to use a JavaScript to swap my images. Very simple. So I could also be able to get back. And so you can see. So what this does is just to change the source. So if you view these now in our console for a developer, we will see the source being changed now. So let's continue. The next one will be to changing the styling. So we'll be looking, quick example here, we'll be looking into the button. Let me give our button an ID changed button, change BTN, or let's say BTN. So let me I'll be targeting my BTN. So let me change the styling of my button, change styling. Let me change the color within my button. So let me say a document dot get element by ID, and let me target the BTN, and the style dot the background color, just like in HTML, just like in CSS HTML, background color on the right. Background color will be equal to red. I'm getting an error here. Background. So within JavaScript we have what we call camel casing. So JavaScript for JavaScript always use camel kitten for your variable. So background color, this is equivalent to background color in CSS. So let's take that out, and so you can see our background color is now being changed. So let me do this. Let me put this inside my function, so that whenever I click next image, the previous button is going to change its color. So let me add it. Let me give it a gray, and let's see. So you can see the default color it has. So whenever I click the next button, it's going to add a gray color to the previous button. Okay, guys, let me show you also how to embed a JavaScript file. Yeah, that's the external JavaScript file. Let me create a new file within my JavaScript folder. I'll come in here and create my JavaScript folder. Index.js. And when you are within your external JavaScript, you don't need to initialize the script file anymore, because the .js file already initializes those for us. So I can be able to copy this out, to cut it, and then paste it in here. So you can see that JavaScript, within our JavaScript file, we have the JavaScript file has a .js extension. So that's how you know that the script that you are running is a JavaScript file. And then I can be able to come here and reference this as we normally do with our CSS and our link. So open up our script and the source. Then our source, this file is coming from js/index.js, and I'll close this. Okay. So if I open up this and run it once, okay. So let me click next, and you can see it still changes. So this is how to embed JavaScript file within our HTML. So thanks guys for watching.